Hello everyone and welcome back to the TheDMSide for our next part of the final installment for Dragon of Icespire's Peak. If you haven't already seen the very first part, I encourage you to get off this video, go back and watch it, otherwise you're going to start in a really weird spot because you think we're headed towards Thunder Tree when we're actually in it right now. Let's jump straight into the video, however. The players are now about deciding which dragon to deal with. They kind of feel like they've actually made friends with Venomfang. They're convinced that they can trick her into doing things for them. They're pretty convinced that she's going to hold up her end of the bargain, even though Tig knows that that's a lie. She hasn't passed that information on. And the players decide, maybe we should go check on the cult. Maybe there is more information there. So they sneak back over to where the cult were hiding and realize they're not there. And so they think, oh no, they've probably gone to see Venomfang, which they have. So they sneak on back up using, getting some decent stealth, managing to pass any of the passive perceptions, except Venomfang, who knows exactly what's going on around her lair. And the players listen in. They hear the cult kind of doing the same thing they were doing. They offer the gems. She takes the gems. They talk about Tiamat. Now, you would love to have your god back to the material plane. Venomfang's not too interested, but again, she's smart. Her goal right now is to get rid of Crowvain. And what better way than to consistently be sending people to him to try and kill him. Now, what she doesn't understand is that both parties are lying to each other. When she asks the cult, she says, I'll join you. Of course I'll help you. But I'm not going to work with a filthy white dragon. So you'll need to go and deal with that. You bring me proof that you've destroyed Crowvain, and I will assist you in certain ways. The cult agreeing and going, of course, we would much rather have a beautiful, strong, smart, intelligent green dragon than one of those disgusting, bestial, animalistic white dragons. And it's very funny for the party to go, it's just a bunch of lies in a room together. And so after that transaction, the cult, they are seen leaving and they're overheard saying that they're going to go to Phandalin. They're going to go and speak with their constituents in there who are about to go deal with Crowvain and try and recruit him, essentially. And this is where we got bogged down. The players didn't know what to do. They haven't really had any terrible run-ins with the cult. I reminded them of the bridge, but they also said that that really was just a mishap in the end, which was an interesting way to put it. And as a DM, it made me realize that I'm pushing a story that maybe they're not happy to pursue. Or perhaps I haven't pushed it enough. They've heard of the Cult of the Dragon. They've heard that they're bad people. However, they've never really seen them do anything wrong. Apart from trying to mug them, not even mug them, trying to just turn them away on a bridge, they haven't wronged them. And so half the party were kind of like, well, we know this story beat-wise. We know these guys are bad. We should probably deal with them now. And the other half were saying, but we haven't got a good reason. And that does reflect on me as a DM, and it made me realize I need to give them a good reason. Or at least I need to give them a reason to want to react a bit more. And so we paused the game for a moment, and I said, okay, look, here are the facts. Don't be afraid. Just say what you think you would like to do. And we came to a consensus. It took a very long time. It was a good portion of the day. Came to a consensus that they were going to leave the cult. They didn't need to deal with them. It was not their prerogative. Their mission right now is to get back to Phandalin to retrieve their money for delivering the goods to Harvin's brother. And so I was like, okay, fantastic. But we need this to be... I think it needed to be a problem. I needed them to be more invested in wanting to deal with these dragons before the cult got to them. Because at the end of the day, the cult was going to get away. If they didn't deal with them, or the dragons, the cult would succeed in recruiting them to some extent. So off they went back to Neverwinter. Now they knew that the cult would take 2 days to go through the woods. That was clearly said, and they wrote it down, they kept the notes. When we get back to Neverwinter, I decided I'm just going to throw a spanner in the works. There's no reason to be in Neverwinter. I don't want them staying. It's just going to be another wasted couple of hours like it was a couple sessions ago. So as soon as they get back, they go to visit Marvin to retrieve some magical items that they had. They'd asked to be commissioned. They wanted to buy some more cantrics. Unfortunately, there weren't any available. And when they got there, Marvin wasn't there. There was just another person there, a guy named Ben, who was just a clerk. He was just a really nice, very kind clerk. And so, this is where I threw everything on its head. As soon as they got in there, they had a bit of chit-chat, they got the items that they needed, and alarm bells start ringing. People outside are screaming and running. There's chaos everywhere. An adult red dragon is flying over Neverwinter and it's just burning everything. Mages and wizards and fighters of Neverwinter are coming out to fend off the attacks, and dragon cultists are moving through the streets and they're cutting down innocent lives. And it's very much like that scene from the fourth Harry Potter movie, where the Death Eaters are going through the Quidditch match, the carnival at the end, and they're just killing off all these wizards and witches. And I really wanted that feel, because at the end of the day, I didn't want them staying in Neverwinter, and I wanted to give them reason to hate and see the terror that the Cult of the Dragon actually are. And that was it. They flipped the switch. They grabbed a bunch of magic items from Marvin's store, which was fantastic, because they were like, well, we're going to give them back. And they went out and they defended the citizens. They fought off the cults. They had a half-dragon veteran fight them, which was a challenge finally, which was really exciting, because obviously Gobbleknock just tanks the damage. But they had all these smart, intelligent combatants attacking them. And so he couldn't just tank everything, because the others became targets. And we put 2 players down. Luckily, no one died. Tig does a fantastic job at resource management with healing. And Gobbleknock obviously knows his strengths, and so obviously Janet as well. And they ran along, and everyone was just fighting and battling, and the battle went for about an hour, and at the end they were tapped out. They couldn't continue to fight anymore, and so they decided it was time to bunker down. They took a short rest, and over time they saw out the window, they saw a larger battle between flying wizards and mages going on, as if though Neverwinter had brought in whatever adventuring group or whatever heroes to save them, which was really cool for them to see, like, oh wow, yeah, like we're level 4 now, and those guys are like probably level 15 or something. Like, look at the abilities they have. It was very interesting for them as players to experience that kind of cutscene, I guess. From there, they decided, you know, we need to leave, because we realize now that this cult is going to Phandalin, and that's going to be an issue for us if we don't get there soon. So, immediately, they picked up all this stuff, they returned the goods to Marvin, which I was impressed with. They're a really moral group, where they say they don't want to steal, and they really mean they don't want to steal. And so, from there, they leave. They sneak out of Neverwinter, and they begin moving down the high road. Now, they know that they're already a day behind. They will be a day behind, because going through the forest was a day shorter. So I asked them, well, what do you plan on doing? And they decided that it was in their best interest to travel through the night. So they traveled through the night. They had a combat along the way with some bandits, and they rolled their constitution saving throws when the morning came, and they all succeeded, which was fantastic, and they continued moving through the day. Whew, it was a full-on session. We got to the point where they had finally made it back to Phandalin. They took a rest on what would be considered their second night, but remember, they traveled through the night, and they got to Phandalin around the same time that the Dragon Cultists had. And when they got to Phandalin, the scene that they walked in on was Darren, who, if you remember, is an ex-Order of the Gauntlet, and he knows of the cult. He knows the danger that they are, and he has got his old sword out, and he is in the main square threatening the mage or the leader or the priestly figure that is in charge of the cult. And there are 4 other cult members there, and he is threatening them to leave, that they have to leave. And here's where I thought, this is where battle's going to go out. Now, the cult don't want to start the battle. They're happy for someone else to throw the first. They're thinking Darren will throw the first swing, and then they'll be justifiable to defend themselves. But the group come in, and instead of standing at arms with Darren, they actually turn on him and persuade him to put his sword down, to realize the situation that he is in, and that he's putting the lives of the townsfolk of Phandalin in. Again, it was a really interesting result, because the group managed to, they utilized their skills of persuasion, they utilized their skills of deception, and they managed to diffuse the situation, because they realized that as heroes, they're not actually here to just fight. They're here to save lives. And I haven't had a group like this in a long time, where they wanted to diffuse situations, talk first before fighting. It was very different. I fully expected there to be a big battle in the middle of Phandalin, but with enough high rolls and enough good reasoning as well, not just high rolls, they actually had decent reasons, Darren turned around and agreed that he may have gotten a little hot-headed. So the cult turned around and they went off to wherever they were staying. The players from there decided, okay, do we deal with the cult or do we deal with the dragon? Because if we leave now, we could probably go deal with the dragon before they get there, or we could deal with them here and then we could probably take a rest. There was a bit of conversation about that, and the players ended up deciding, well, the big problem is Cravain. It's the dragon. We've decided that the white dragon is the one that we are going to deal with. We'll deal with Venomfang later on, and so we gotta go. The thing is, they didn't know where Cravain's lair was. However, what they did know is the orcs from way back in like session 2, the orcs were run out from their homeland from Cravain, and so they decided to seek out the orcs. A couple of survival checks later, and eventually they found the orcs camping in a cave at the foot of the mountain. And they greeted with them. They explained, we're going to go and kill Cravain. The only thing is we need to figure out where he is. So I decided a nice fun way, rather than them going to the dragon section where you can actually get the vision that shows you where Cravain is, because they hadn't gone there, we hadn't really spoken about it, it didn't really come up. I decided I'm just going to take that exact same idea, I'm going to give it to one of the to the orcs. So I go to the elder of the orc tribe, who is a sage, and through magical means, infused and created basically a vision for Janet to see, because Janet was the one who said that she would fight off Cravain. She made the deal, so the orcs were primarily just interacting with her. And so that's how the vision came, of sweeping over the mountains, going into the old dwarvish orc ruins, and that's where Cravain was. And so it was only about a half-day travel up the mountain. So the players decided they would take their long rest here for the evening, and they understood that after this, they'd either be dead or they would be defeating a white dragon. And that is where we took our dinner break, which is where we'll take the end of this session's break for this video. Next video will be the final conclusion to what happened at the end of Dragon of Icespire's Peak. Comment down below if you've enjoyed this series, and give this video a like, and I'll see you in the next video.